Today, we're going to talk about seven-figure selling masterclass, how to turn your pipeline into profit. Now, if you guys don't know who I am, some of you guys may, some of you guys may not. My name is John Lalonde. I've done over $2 million in wholesale deals. I need to update this because it's a good bit over $2 million now. In the last 2 years, I'm a licensed NEPQ trainer for real estate investors. So I'm the only licensed NEPQ trainer for real estate investors. NEPQ is a sales process, neuro emotional persuasion questioning with seventh level. They're one of the biggest B2C companies in the world. And they have me teaching this specifically for real estate investors. And then my most proud accomplishment is I am a proud gringo dad. That's my beautiful family there on the right in Aruba. We like to go to the Caribbean a couple times a year. And that's what I love about wholesaling. So I do this all virtually. I live in Medellin, Colombia, and I've been able to make millions of dollars in real estate wholesaling and flipping from Medellin. I haven't lived in the States in like the last 2.5 years. So that is my proudest accomplishment, and that is my beautiful family there on the right. Okay, so what I'm going to tell you guys is a little bit about how I got into NEPQ and how I became the go-to sales trainer because I wasn't always like a top closer. I wasn't a killer. I wasn't a natural salesperson at all. I came from the military. I was a sniper in the Marine Corps. And so like they don't teach you about tonality. They don't teach you about how to sell people when you're a sniper on a force recon team inside the Marine Corps. So I had to learn as I was getting out. I started wholesaling. It took me 8 months to get my first deal. And during those 8 months, I mean, I was talking to 10 to 20 people every single day. I was doing like the SMS blast and I was just kind of winging it. I was one of those wingers. I didn't really have a sales process. I didn't know what I was supposed to be saying to these sellers or the questions I was supposed to be asking. I was just talking about the condition, the motivation, the time frame, and then trying to get them to sign a purchase agreement. So that's why it took me so long. Fast forward, I ended up doing a couple wholesale deals. I got lucky on my first one, made enough money to kind of reinvest back into marketing. And then I started flipping houses in 2020 through 2022. And if you guys were in the real estate market, can you guys type in a Y if anybody was in the real estate market in like 2020 through 2022? You guys remember how fucking wild it was? Yeah, a couple of you guys. Interest rates were like 2%. You could buy a property for the Zillow price, and then you could, go ahead and fix it up and still make money, right? And so that's what I was doing. I was buying houses. I didn't really have any good sales process. I wasn't really buying them at discounts. But the market was so good, especially in Southern California, that I could buy them for the Zillow price. I could put a bunch of money into them, fix them up, and then I could sell them for a profit. And so that's what I did from 2020 through 2022. Fast forward, tail end of 2022. If you guys were doing deals, you remember this was tough for everybody. Interest rates shot up. Yep. So they shot up from, 2.5% all the way to like 7 to 8%. And so unfortunately, I had 5 active flips on the market. And these were in Southern California. I had some in LA, Palm Springs, San Diego, kind of all over Southern California. And when interest rates shot up from 2% all the way to 8%, the market just tanked in SoCal. Now, the problem was I was using other people's money. So I was using a hard money loan, taking out 90%, and then I was raising the other 10%. So I was like completely leveraged out. And we didn't really have a ton of money because we were reinvesting everything back into the business. And so towards the end of 2022, I ended up having to fire sale 5 flips. I lost $600,000. And when I say lost, I mean I didn't have $600,000 to like, pay on those flips. I was in the negative. I was in debt $600,000. And so at this point, this was my rock bottom for me. I mean, this was probably the lowest point in my life. I had never made $600,000. And so, having a mountain of debt that bad, I really didn't know what I was going to do. So luckily, I had a mindset coach at the time, and I called him and I told him where I was at. I was like, look, his name's Joe. I was like, look, Joe, I don't know what to do. I'm thinking about just filing bankruptcy because I don't see any way out of this at all. Like I've never made $600,000 in a year. I really like I made like 300,000 at the most, and that was super inconsistent. And so I was telling him like I guess this is the only option is file bankruptcy and like, hopefully I get out of this in like the next 7 years. And luckily he stopped me and he could see a different perspective. He's like, well, is there anybody that's wholesaling and flipping right now that's making over $600,000 a year profit? Not gross. Obviously, there's tons of people doing 600 gross, but like 600,000 a year profit. And I thought about it and I was like, well, yeah, there definitely is. And he goes, well, what's the real difference between you and them? And so I started to try to find that out. And the first thing I thought about was, okay, well, it's probably the marketing, right? And then as I started to talk to other people, I was in a mastermind, I was talking to other people that were doing deals. I realized everybody is doing the same sort of marketing. Like you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys are all doing like PPC, PPL, some sort of paper lead, Facebook, YouTube, SMS, cold calling, direct mail. If you're doing outbound, you're doing like foreclosures, you're doing probates, maybe some water shutoffs. If you're doing PPC, you're bidding on the keywords like sell my house fast, cash for homes, all those keywords. Like everybody's doing the same exact marketing, right? And so for me, I was like, okay, well, I'm doing that too. I was doing all of those channels. I tried kind of everything and during like the 2022 time, I wasn't finding any success doing any of that marketing. And then I thought, okay, well, maybe it's my systems and it's my processes. And so I started looking for other people that are doing, deals at a really high level. And it became a pretty simple process. It was literally just, hey, call your leads within 3 minutes and follow up with them, right? That's wholesaling, right? And flipping. Like call your leads within 3 minutes, follow up with them. Have a good CRM, track your KPIs. I was doing all of that already too. So I was like, okay, fuck, it's not that. Then I talked to one of my buddies, Adams, and he broke it down for me. He's like, look, bro, this is just a sales and marketing business. That's all it is. It's like wholesaling. It's not a comping business. It's not any other, but it's just sales and marketing. If you can get deals, steeper discounts than anybody else, you end up winning. And he said, sales cures all problems. And so that's when I really started looking in. I was never really a salesperson, like some of you guys might be similar to me. Like you're a little bit of a winger. It's like, oh, I got a script online. Maybe I found like, one of the scripts. I watched some YouTube videos, right? And I'm just trying to figure it out that way. That was me, right? And that kind of got me to where I was. So I knew that there had to be a different way. And I started looking at all of the real estate specific sales trainers, right? I'm not going to name them because I think there's some like really good material for like people that are trying to get their first deal. A lot of the sales trainers, like the sales trainers in the real estate space, they're good for like getting your first deal. If you haven't got your first deal yet, like they put out good content on like how to be able to do that, right? That's not really what I do, but that's why I don't like to name them. I don't think that they're bad people. It just I was using their sales process already, right? And it sounds like this. Ask them about the condition of the property, ask them about their motivation, ask them about the time frame, right? And then find out their asking price. Be real with me for a second. How many of you guys right now type in why to the chat? How many of you guys right now are using that sales process? Some we call like the four pillars. So a lot of you guys are using that sales process right now, right? And that's okay. Like as you're getting started, yep, four pillars. So as you're getting started, like Brent Daniels, great guy. Like he teaches people how to get their first deal, and it can get you there, right? It can get you a deal. You might get lucky and get some deals, right? The problem is I was using that sales process and it just wasn't working for me anymore. So I tried every single, sales trainer inside of the space, and it all sounded the exact same. It was like the exact same sales process over and over and over. And so then I decided to do something a little risky. And I was like, okay, well, if everybody's doing the exact same thing, why don't I go look for a sales trainer outside of our industry, somebody that might be doing it just like a little bit different. I started asking around. I asked everybody, like, who's the best sales trainer in the country, not real estate specific, just like the absolute best sales trainer. And so as I started doing more research, I ended up finding this guy. So this is Jeremy Miner. He's all on my feed now. So this is Jeremy. And so when I met Jeremy and when I started looking into this sales process, I realized that he was doing something completely different than everybody else. So he was talking about the tonality, like the way that you ask the questions. He was talking about the psychology behind selling, right? The actual meaning behind what sellers say, and then how to use your tone, how to use the questions that you're asking to be able to get the seller into result-based thinking. And this stuff was like completely like I've never heard anybody talk about this. Usually people just talk about scripts, right? So I took a wild bet on myself. I didn't have any money because I was $600,000 in debt. I had no cash to my name, but I had a credit card. It was a personal Amex that I had from the military. And I joined their inner circle. So I was like nervous as all hell, but I swiped that card at a $25,000 limit. I paid $18,000 to join their inner circle program. Okay. And I'll show you guys the results of what ended up happening next. That was December of 2022, kind of right when everything went to shit for me. So January of 2023, I didn't have any money to spend on marketing. I didn't close any deals in January of 2023. It was a rough time for me. However, what I did is I went through the sales process that I had just learned and I made offers on people that I had already made offers on. So people that have already told me no, that my price was too low, I went through and I started making offers on those. And I ended up locking up 4 contracts, which the next month turned into $46,258. And so this is where I said, okay, like this stuff's actually working. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. And so I kept at it. I just ended up spending a little bit of money in marketing, still just mostly working my CRM. And then March of 2023, I did $141,944. This is actually from my P&L. I can't fake this. So these are real numbers that I'm going to show you guys. And over the last 2 years, I went over from March, I need to update this, but March 1st to March 1st, 2025, still actively doing deals. I've done over $2.1 million in assignment fees using this sales process. And so, most importantly, what it allowed me to do is I was able to get all of that $600,000 paid off in just 6 months. So I actually netted $600,000, paid off all of my investors in 6 months, and then completely started a new chapter of my life. So when that happened, I reached out to Jeremy. I told him what happened. It was Jeremy and Matt Ryder, the old CEO of Seventh Level. And I told him what happened. I was like, guys, this process is insane. However, it needs to be specifically tailored for real estate investors. Like I had to tailor this. I had to spend, not only $18,000, but hours, tons of hours just trying to get this process completely dialed in for real estate investors because everybody else sells a product. We buy houses, so it's a little bit of a different process. And I was telling them this, and I was telling them, like, why don't we get together? I will help you guys develop it. You guys will help me develop it, and we'll put something together specifically for real estate investors. And so, anyway, that's what we did. And so far, since we ended up starting that about 2.5 years ago or 2 years ago, these are the average results that we see inside of our advanced group. This is a survey. We pulled everybody. On average, we see the close rate increase 2.16x. So if they're closing 1 out of 50 leads, they go to 1 out of 25. Their average revenue increases 184%. And then the average monthly revenue of guys using this program, using this process, when they do this for 6 months, is $83,389. And I'll show you guys some examples. So this is inside of our school community. If you're just doing your first deal, like there's tons of people that are doing first deals inside here, getting their first contract. Most of the people are doing active deals. So you can see here, like first novation closed $45,000, closed my biggest deal yet, $37,000. People that are using this are getting huge average deal sizes. We had people like Patrick. So Patrick went from doing $100,000 a year to $170,000 in just 1 quarter. So this was like 1 quarter implementing this process, went from 100K a year to $170,000 in just 1 quarter, 6x his business. And then we work with big companies too. So I saw a lot of you guys are doing like 12 to 20, or sorry, 24 deals plus. This is Matt, he's doing $300,000 a month. So he's already a big dog. A lot of you guys are probably doing like, there's probably a lot of you guys on here right now doing 100, 200K a month. We work with big companies as well. And so Matt just sent me this text the other day. His team's officially closing at 25%. When they started our NEPQ process, they were closing at 12.5%. So he literally doubled his entire close rate. And that's an entire team, right? That's not just like one person. Okay, so today, what I'm going to show you guys is exactly how we do it. We're going to walk through the entire process to show you exactly how we do it. Oh, cool. Somebody's got a screen recorder. All right, so what we're going to be covering today is how to consistently find the seller's real problem on your sales calls. That's one. Two, I'm going to teach you guys how to prevent the roller coaster effect. So, how many of you guys that are doing deals, you do deals some month, and then the next month, maybe you only do a couple, right? Then you do 10 deals, and then maybe five, or you do three deals, and then maybe one, or you do two deals, and then maybe zero. You have that roller coaster effect. Type in why if any of you guys are experiencing that, like right now inside of your business. There's always, okay, a couple of you guys. I'm going to teach you guys how to prevent that today. I'm going to teach you how to make more money on each deal, on every deal, how to make more money. And then most importantly, I'm going to teach you guys how to double your close rate. That's the average results from everybody inside of our group. I'm going to teach you how to do that. All right. So the first thing that I'm going to teach you guys about before we even talk about the sales process, before we, talk about like the scripting, the words you say, is we need to learn the most important thing. So everybody with a pen, I want you guys to write this down. Sales is 20% about the question that you ask and 80% about how you ask the question. Okay? Everybody write that down. Sales is 20% about the question that you ask and 80% about how you ask the question. Okay? So what I'm going to go over first is the 4 different types of tonality. And I'll tell you guys why I'll give you an example of why this is so important. As I started scaling my business, I started hiring acquisitions managers. And so one time I hired an acquisitions manager and I gave him the script. I didn't like fully train him. I gave him the script. I showed him some modules and then I slapped him on the butt, said, hey, go make some calls, right? Seller calls in and he goes through the entire script. Like he did follow the script appropriately, right? And then at the end of the call, he offers the seller $640,000. The seller says, no way, dude. I have an appraisal for $850,000. No way I'm going to sell it for $640,000. And so I listened to his call. He was in the early training, so I was listening to all of his calls. And I was like, I feel like there's something here. Couldn't put my pen onto paper on it, but like something is here. And so I ended up calling this guy back. And I went through the same exact sales process. I didn't do much different than him. There were some things that I've learned that he doesn't know yet, but I went through the same sales process. The biggest difference is I changed how I asked the questions. So when I asked him, like, and tell me, like, what came up recently to cause you to feel like you might want to sell now? He thought about the question, right? When he started talking about his problems, I started using a more concerned tone to get him to open up more and actually build that trust. And then at the end of that call, we went from 850,000 all the way to $640,000 in one call, just because we found out what really is going on is the guy's going through a divorce. All of his money was going to his ex-wife. He had tenants in there that were paying him, but he wasn't paying the mortgage with that money because he needed it just to live. And so he needed to sell the property really bad. He didn't tell my other rep any of this, but once he realized the spot that he was in, then he wanted to change. And the only thing I really changed was just the way I was asking the questions. All right. So I'm going to teach you guys the 4 different types of tonality. Number 1 is going to be the curious tone. Okay. Think about it like this, right? If you guys ask somebody, okay, so tell me, why are you looking to sell? Do you sound curious? No, you sound like a robot, right? And so we need to use upward inflection. Then our concern tonality. We have our concern tonality. A lot of our sellers have pain points. They have real motivation. If the seller says like, "Oh, well, my mom just passed away in the home and I inherited it." And you go, "Oh, okay. Oh, cool. All right, awesome. Perfect." Right? Do you feel like the seller is going to trust you and open up? No, right? So we need to learn our concern tonality. Next, we need to learn how to use our challenging tonality. This is going to be like something that we're seeing that they aren't seeing. And then lastly, how many of you guys deal with like those type A sellers? Like really type A, like, hey, just give me an offer, man. Just give me an offer or get off the phone. I'm not going to waste my time with all of this. I just want to hear your offer, right? Oh, just get straight to the point, man. I don't want to deal with any of these questions. Just George? Is George the only one that deals with those? How many of you guys deal with, yeah, a bunch of you guys, right? And so I'm going to teach you guys how to use a playful tonality, right? A playful tonality so that way you can actually get the seller to open up. All right. So that's what we're going to go over today. I am going to go over this. It's going to be the entire process. You guys should all have your scripts. I sent you guys who didn't. Actually, let me ask you this first. Did everybody get your free trial to our school community? So that way you guys get all the scripts, you guys can get like the process, you guys can follow along. No, some of you guys, yes. Michael, yes. Steve, yes. Uh, Mostly minor in SoCal. Okay. Some of you guys said no. Okay, so some of you guys did get access to the free school community. So if you already have it, I'm going to show you guys. You can obviously just follow along with the scripts that you guys already have. If you guys didn't, I don't know what you guys are doing. We gave you guys access to our school community. There's a completely free trial right now. So it's a 7-day free trial. Zach, thank you, Zach. Zach just dropped a link inside of the chat. Let me show you guys where you can get all of our scripts. So I'm going to be giving them away completely for free. Honestly, if you guys want to just go in here, download a bunch of shit, completely rob me, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me one bit. You can certainly do that. The biggest thing is I'm going to be going over the principles, like the fundamentals. And if you guys want to follow along with the actual script, I'm going to show you guys how to do that. So once you go and you join, you guys are going to see this classroom. Okay. Then you want to go down to scripts. So let me know in the chat, how many of you guys are working like inbound leads? Let me make sure that that audio is off. Let me know in the chat, how many of you guys are working inbound leads, like PPC, PPL, something like that, right? Some sort of inbound lead. Okay, so a lot of you guys. So if you guys are doing inbound leads, you want to follow along today with this inbound lead script. So if you click it right here, it'll open up the inbound lead script. I'm going to be talking about the psychology, but you guys can just follow along and like actually follow with the script. Who here is doing like cold calling, SMS blast, some sort of outbound leads, like cold calling, SMS blast, something like that? Okay, so a lot of you guys are doing that. If you guys are doing like cold calling, outbound, you're going to want to go to the classroom. You're going to want to go to the scripts. And so depending on what type of what type of cold calling or outbound you're doing, if you have somebody else cold calling for you, you're going to want to pick on this outbound lead script. So if somebody else is cold calling for you, like you have a cold caller, you have a texter, somebody's generating the leads for you and then booking them to you, this is going to be your script, the outbound lead script. If you are cold calling yourself, okay, if you're cold calling yourself, you're going to want to use this cold call script right here. All right. So those are the different types of scripts. If you're just cold calling foreclosures, there's the foreclosure script. If you are doing novations, type in Y in the chat. Is anybody doing novations right now? Most of you guys should be doing novations. All right, cool. So you guys that are doing novations, you want to learn how we actually pitch the novations. Here's the novation script right here. And then we have, our follow-up script. This old age lead script is the script that I used to be able to get my first like $46,000 and $140,000 a month. How do I go back and follow up with all of my leads? So you guys have access to all of this. Again, right now it's free. If you are watching the recording, I'm sorry that we're going to push this recording out after this. Free trial is over. So I always need to make sure that I remember that because people always email me and they're like, why is the free trial off? It's like, okay, it's only for this next 90 minutes that we're having this free trial on. So here are all of the scripts. If you go to the classroom, you can find them right here. Again, if you guys want to just follow along, download them and take it and run, that's completely okay. However, the reason that most people end up staying is we have practice sessions. Okay. So you guys can see right here, if you go to the calendar, so I saw a bunch of you guys actually just joined. For you guys that just joined, I recommend that you go to the calendar, you click on this calendar and you add it to the calendar. This is why most people end up staying. What we do is every single week we role play. And so there's one thing to be able to learn this process, be here, learn how to actually do it. It's another thing to actually practice it, right? And so every single week we do these role play calls where we work on our tonality, our scripting, and then I'm actually coaching these as well. Okay. So that's inside of the school community. Somebody just asked, how do I join? So let me just copy this link. Linda, I'm going to put this inside of the chat right there. And I don't know if I can pin that comment. I guess I can't pin it. But you can see it right there. So all you need to do is click that link. That will open up the school community. Once you do that, go to the classroom. There's always people that ask me, like in the middle of the masterclass, how do I join? Go to the classroom, go to the scripts, and then you can find all of the scripts right here. Once we're done with this, you guys can check out like our NEPQ 101. You guys can go through all these courses that have like all of our Black Book of Objections, Black Book of Questions, everything that you really need, a bunch of different courses. And then if you're just starting, like there's everything from like the 0 deals, 1 to 12 deals, 12 to 30 deal roadmap. All of that's on there as well. But you guys can check that out after this. Okay. So let's jump back into the training. What is the name on the email you sent? I have no idea what you're talking about, Michael's iPhone. But if you're looking to join the school community, I just dropped that link right inside the chat if that's what you were looking for. So, connection phase. I want you guys to write this down. It takes 7 seconds for a prospect to recognize a sales call. Okay. And you guys that are following along inside of the script, I'm going to show you guys what it sounds like. Let me just get rid of, hopefully you guys can't hear this, but let me, it gives me like a little ping every time somebody joins, and there's like a million of you guys joining right now. So give me a second to get that out of my brain. I'm super ADHD, and you guys will probably see that today. All right. Where were we? Connection phase. So it takes 7 seconds for a prospect to recognize a sales call. Our brains are trained to recognize patterns. They're trained to pick up on patterns. And so I'll give you guys an example to show you what I mean by this. You guys know, like when you're walking down the street, right? And you run, you know, kind of like walk past somebody. Maybe it's nighttime. Imagine if every single time you walked past somebody, your brain went to fight or flight, like heart rate spiked, adrenaline started rushing every time you walked past somebody in the street. What would happen at the end of the day? You would be absolutely exhausted, right? You'd be completely exhausted. And so, what our brain does is it creates pattern recognition. So, you walk past an old lady with the walker, your brain says, okay, that's a pattern, that's not a threat, right? If you walk past a bunch of guys with like hoods and bandanas on and they're walking all sketchy with their hands in their pockets, you might get a little bit nervous. You might go to the other side of the street, right? And I'll give you guys an example of something that happened to me relatively recently. I was at the doctor with my girlfriend. She was pregnant at the time, and she wasn't feeling that good because when you're pregnant, you typically don't feel that great all the time. And we're standing up in line, and this guy comes and he's like suit and tie, like, obviously like a well-polished guy, big smile. I don't know who this guy is, by the way. Big smile comes up with his hand up. Hey, how are you? Now, my knee-jerk reaction was to grab my girlfriend, put her behind me, and put my hand up, right? Why would I do that? Somebody tell me, like, he was wearing a suit and tie. He didn't look like he was about to, like, judo throw me or anything like that. But why would I do that? Why would my brain go like defensive right away when somebody comes like walking up super aggressively? It's just too intense. My brain picked up on a pattern, right? And so the same thing is happening with our sellers. The same thing's happening every single time we call our seller. So think about it like this. If somebody calls you guys, Like, I don't know why you guys aren't thinking like this, but like if someone calls you, right? So Pablo or Linda or Bill, somebody calls you and says, "Hey, Linda, how you doing today?" What's the first thing that goes on in your brain? Like what happens in your brain when somebody calls you out of the blue and says, "Hey, Pablo, how you doing today?" Let me know in the chat. What happens in your brain when you do that? When someone calls you, how do you guys typically react? They need money, instinct posture. What do they want? Yeah, you guys are usually like your wall goes up, right? Fuck, here's the sales guy. Yeah, you hang up, right? Your resistance goes up. That is called sales resistance. And all that's happening is your brain is trained to pick up on patterns. And when your brain hears a salesperson, pattern goes up, right? That pattern of like, I need to put my walls up. I need to go into fight or flight because this person might take advantage of me. That's what's happening. Okay. So if you do not learn how to lower resistance with the seller, you're always going to get surface level answers, right? We're going to continuously get surface level answers. And so what we need to learn how to do is lower resistance with the seller. So that way you can get the real answers to their problem. Just like that scenario that I gave you guys, right? With the tonality. He didn't tell my other rep any of that information. He didn't tell me he was divorced. He didn't tell me he was behind on all of his bills. He wasn't keeping up with anything. He didn't tell me any of that because he sounded like a salesperson, right? Do you guys want to open up to salespeople? Like when salespeople call you, are you guys like, hey, let me just tell this guy my life story? Of course not, right? So if you guys are following along in the script, right? I'm going to show you guys, you guys have the script to be able to follow along here. I'm going to show you guys how to ask the questions though. Because again, you have the script now. Now I need to show you how to ask the questions. So instead of me saying, "Hey, Bob, how you doing today?" "Yeah, I'm just calling to give you a cash offer on your property. How much you looking to get for it?" Right? What's going to happen? The seller's going to realize it's a salesperson. So I need to use a calm, relaxed tonality. So let's say I'm calling inbound leads like PPC. It might sound like this. I might say, uh, "Hey, Bob, can you hear me?" Now I'm going to trigger curiosity in their brain. They're like, "Yeah, who's this?" "Yeah, it's just John. It's John Lalonde over at ABC Home Buyers. It looks like you just filled out a form on our website about possibly selling your home on 123 Main Street. Is that right?" "Oh yeah, yeah. I just filled that form out." "Yeah, and it looks like you found us on Google." "Yeah, yeah. I was on online searching." "Yeah, what did you see on our website that caused you to maybe want to look into this a bit further though?" Notice I'm using a curious tonality. Now, do I sound like a salesperson when I say, "Hey Bob, can you hear me?" No, right? "Yeah, it's just John. It's John Lalonde." Now I'm using a familiar tone. "Yeah, it's just John Lalonde over at Sell Easy SoCal. It looks like you just filled out a form on our website about possibly selling Main Street. Is that right?" Now, what type of tone am I using? Somebody let me know in the chat right there. What type of tone? "Yeah, it looks like you might have filled something out on our website. Is that right?" Someone let me know in the chat. What type of tone? Curious. Yep, you guys are getting it. Yeah, confident, familiar, but mostly it's a curious tone. Because if I just call them and I say, "Yeah, it looks like you just filled out a form on our website. Is that right?" I sound like a robot, right? And they're never going to really open up. Okay. And so that is the first, and you guys will see inside of the script, you guys will see like the status frame. We're going to be using a more curious tonality inside of our connection phase. Okay. So now that we've done that, this is how we lower resistance with the seller. I'm going to show you guys how to get the real motivation from the seller every single time. Before I do, I want you guys to let me know, what do all of these jobs have in common? So let me know inside the chat. What do these? So these are the three most stressful jobs inside the US, according to US jobs. Do not say stress. Okay. I understand they're stressful. What else do these three jobs all have in common? It's a first responder, an air traffic controller, and an entrepreneur. Steve, Steve's iPhone, you got it. It's uncertainty. Okay. And unpredictability. Dylan, you got it too. Okay. So how many of you guys in your sales calls, like sometimes you feel like you might be stressed to make a call, especially you guys that are just starting, right? You're like, sometimes I get stuck. I don't know what to do. And then I just default to talking about the condition. Like, who's done that? Who's been like, I don't really know where to go in my sales call. So I just start talking about the condition of the roof. Or I start talking about, just the condition of the home. Because that's my safe place, right? Do people make selling decisions based on just like talking about the condition? No, right? They make decisions based off of emotion, feeling a connection. Okay. So if you guys are dealing with that, I'm going to show you guys how to solve it. Also, I know a bunch of you guys mentioned like, hey, I'm dealing with like some of those inconsistent months, right? I have a big month and then I have a low month and then I have a big month and then a low month. I want you guys to write this down. Okay. This is the start of our sales process after our connection phase that really ties it all together. So I want you guys to write down that an inconsistent process creates inconsistent results. Okay. An inconsistent process creates inconsistent results. So if that's you, that's having those big months, those low months, those big months, those low months, you're not doing the same thing every single time. That's why you're not converting, right? If you're like, hey, I don't know where to go, and so I end up talking about the roof, I end up talking about the condition of the home, and that's the only place I know. It's because you don't have a consistent process to be able to get to the motivation every single time, right? And if your first question in your script is why are you looking to sell? This is going to trigger the prospect to give you a surface level answer. Okay. So if we ask the seller just right out the gate, so why are you looking to sell? What do most of them say? Right? They just, well, why are you looking to sell? What do most of the time they say? None of your business, right? They'll say something like, oh, well, it's personal. They're going to give you a surface level answer. Sometimes they don't give you anything at all, right? Sometimes they just give you an answer. Oh, I'm just moving, right? Just like that guy did to my rep, right? When my rep called, he didn't really give him a real answer. Okay. So I'm going to show you guys, if you guys are following along in the script, I'm going to show you guys how to ask some of these questions, right? So you guys will see in the script, there's homeowners, investors, and vacant properties. I've never met anybody that doesn't fall into one of those three categories. They either live in the home, someone else lives in the home, or no one lives in the home. Never met anybody that doesn't fit one of those three categories. So, what we do, instead of just asking a broad question like, tell me what you got going on with it, or why are you looking to sell? We are going to ask tailored questions towards their scenario. So that way we can find their real motivation, right? And so this is what that looks like. If you guys are following along in the script, my first question might sound like this. So the house, do you live there? Is it a rental for you? What's going on with it? Oh yeah, I live there. Oh really? Where are you headed next? Well, we're trying to get out to XYZ city. Oh, what's out in XYZ city though? It's a little bit safer and out of the city. So we think that, right now might be a better time for our kids to be in a different area. When you say safer, in what way is it safer? Okay, so I'll show you guys, and you guys that are following along in the script, you'll see that exact line by line, right? So you guys will see first question is, so the house, do you live there? Is it a rental for you? What's going on with it? Why do I ask that? If they say I live there, my first question is going to be, oh, where are you headed next? Why would I ask that? What do we know about every single homeowner that's selling a property? If they live there, where are we going? They will be moving, right? They're going to be moving. They're going to go somewhere else. So instead of me just asking, why are you looking to sell? I ask, oh, where are you going? That's a friendly question as long as you ask it curious, right? Oh, where are you headed next? Well, I'm going out to XYZ. Really? Why there? Now they're going to tell me why they're moving, why they're looking to sell, their real motivation without me just asking, so why are you looking to sell? Same thing with investors, right? If you guys are following along with the investors, I'm going to ask a question. So the house, do you live there? Is it a rental for you? Yeah, I live there. Okay, and are there tenants paying right now? Are they paying, on time every single month, like the exact time they're supposed to? We're going to find that motivation inside of our situation phase, right? And so in our situation phase, again, I'm going to recap. The biggest thing is making sure you have a consistent process to get to the motivation every single time based on those questions, right? Based on the questions we have inside the script. If you are defaulting to talking about the condition, that is just a symptom of uncertainty in your process. And if you're asking, why are you looking to sell at the beginning of your sales call, you're just going to trigger the prospect's resistance more, and they're going to continue to give you surface level questions. All right. That's our situation phase. Next, we are going to go into problem awareness. Okay. If you guys are following along inside the script, you'll see the connection, situation, problem awareness phase. So when we talk about problem awareness, it's really important to understand. I love this study. So there's a guy named Dr. Antonio Damasio. All right. This is a neurosurgeon, a scientist. He studies the brain. And so he does a study on a bunch of people that have a damaged prefrontal cortex. And so what he learned is that when people damage the part of their brain that regulates emotions, they aren't able to make decisions. I have a buddy that was in the military, and his friend ended up getting blown up. Same thing, damaged part of his brain that regulates emotions, and he can't make a decision of like what shoe he wants to put on first. And so when Dr. Antonio Damasio did this study, he concluded that we are not thinking machines. A lot of us think we make decisions off of logic. We are feeling machines. We make decisions based on how we feel. Okay, so all of us are dogs sitting on a nail. That's all of our sellers. They're just dogs sitting on the nail. Do you guys know what that means? Do you guys type in the chat if you guys don't know what that means? If you don't know what if you never heard the story of the dog sitting on the nail, just type in an N if you guys have never heard that. Okay, I'll explain that for you. So the dog sitting on the nail story goes like this. There's two guys, and they're at his house, right? They're at one of the guys' cabins, and they're sitting there talking, and the owner's dog is sitting in the corner. And the dog is whimpering. He's like crying. He's like little bit of whimpering. Finally, the friend asks him, he's like, dude, why is your dog crying? He goes, well, he's sitting on a nail. He's like, well, why doesn't he just get up? Well, it doesn't hurt him bad enough to get up. And that's so many of our sellers, right? It's so many of our sellers. That's so many of our friends and family. Like, be real with me for a second, guys. How many of you guys type in a Y in the chat if you guys have a friend or a family member that they might be sitting on a nail, right? They're in a bad relationship, right? Or maybe they're in a dead-end job that they don't like, right? Maybe they're in a house that they don't really love, but they haven't moved. Or they're in a city that they don't love, right? Maybe like they're overweight. Type in why if any of you guys have someone in your family, like friends or family, that's in maybe just not the best position, but they're not changing, right? So everybody here has experienced that. Let me know in the chat, why do you guys think that they're not changing? Like they know that there's something better out there, right? But why do you feel like they're not changing? Linda, I'm gonna have Zach reach out to you. If you can drop your email to host and panelist. Dylan Rodriguez nailed it. There's not enough pain, right? And so if there's not enough pain, the seller will never change. Okay. And so I want you guys to write this down. I want you guys to write down people change when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. All right. People change when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. All right. And so all of us make decisions based off of feeling and emotion, not logic. So what do we need to do inside of our problem awareness phase? We need to learn how to get the seller to feel those pain points. So inside of the script, if you guys are following along, you see the problem awareness phase. I'll show you guys how to ask these questions. So I had a seller that was living in a property. Her property had a ton of mold in it, and it was in really bad condition, so bad that she had to move her husband out of the house. She had to move him into a nursing home. And so I asked her, well, I mean, how long have you actually been living here though? She's like, well, I've been here for the last 10, 15 years. And what came up recently that caused you to feel like you might want to sell the home now? And she thought about it because of the way I'm asking the question. She goes, well, there's just a lot of mold in the house. Oh, there's mold in the house. How do you mean? Well, there's some water damage inside of the attic, and that started to, move up into the house. And then I asked her, well, and how long has that been going on for? Gosh, I mean, the mold started like 15 years ago, and it just started getting much, much worse over the last 5 years. Yeah, but how is that impacting you though? Oh my gosh, well, I just went to the doctor and they told me that the mold is actually starting to get into my lungs. I'm developing a cough and it's really just not good for my health. Now I'm gonna show you guys, this is a real conversation, by the way. I'm gonna show you guys how I got this emotional impact. I told her, I was like, hey, I know if that were me and my health was on the line because of the house I was living in, I mean, I'd be pretty terrified. I mean, what's that been like for you though? And then I wait for those problems. Okay. So you guys will see. I literally just followed along in my script. If you guys are seeing the script, my first question, tell me like what came up recently that caused you to feel like you might want to sell now, right? I'm asking that now question. I'm building that urgency. Then I move on and I ask them about the problem. How long has that been going on? Right? I'm clarifying on that problem. And what's that doing to you though? How's that impacted you though? And when the seller starts talking about their emotions, the feelings, that's when they're feeling this, that's when they want to change. Just like all of our friends and family, if we could get them to feel those pain points, when they feel those pain points, that's when they start making a decision to change. All right. So you guys saw the script and you can hear me what the tonality, real quick in the chat, what type of tonality did you guys hear me use? It was a different tonality than connection, right? It wasn't curious when the seller says, oh, I've got mold inside of my house and it's affecting my lungs. Oh, how long has that been going on? What type of tonality did I use? Let me know in the chat. Concerned tonality. Yep, concerned and sympathetic. Exactly. Right? That's that concerned tonality. Okay. So now I'm going to show you guys how to go from problem awareness to solution awareness. So this is like the principle of sales. You guys have probably all seen this before. The difference between their current state and their future state is called the gap. And so think about it this way. This seller was in a moldy house that was impacting her lungs and it was really affecting her health. And where she wanted to be was a newly remodeled house so she can move her husband back into her home and start having family dinners again. That's current state and future state is a huge gap, right? And so think about if we don't get that gap, there's nothing in their brain that's going to cause them to want to change. If they don't want to change, they're just going to be fixated on the price, right? And I'll show you guys an example of how to get people into solution awareness in a second. But I want you guys to write this down first. If you guys are getting price objections at the end of your calls, or sellers are saying like, hey, this all sounds good, but I need way more money. Price objections stem from getting the seller into price-based thinking instead of result-based thinking. And the more the seller focuses on the end result, the more they are likely to change. All right, so I'm going to show you guys an example of solution awareness. It literally happened to me. So I was in the market for a new car. I already have a Tesla. It was a $60,000 Tesla, and it was okay, right? I liked it. I didn't need a new car. You guys know those sellers that say, well, I don't need to sell, right? I was that guy. It's like, I don't need a new car. I've already got a pretty good car. But all of my friends were going camping, they were going off-roading, and they were able to do all of that stuff without me. So I started looking for a bunch of different types like trucks and Jeeps. And then finally I found the Jeep Wrangler Rubicon Unlimited. And I was like, all right, that's the car that I want. I want the Jeep Wrangler Rubicon Unlimited. I wasn't convinced I was going to buy one yet. But I was like, let me just start looking. All right. So the first time I found two cars very similar, right next door to each other. So I go to the first lot, and the first car salesman asked him, I tell him what I'm looking for. He's like, oh, you got to come check out this car. And he just starts pushing features, right? Just like a lot of us do. We're like, yeah, but it's a cash offer. It's quick. There's no closing costs. There's no commissions. Our company's really good, right? He started pushing features kind of like that. He was like, yeah, check out the rims. This one's got the stereo system. It's got the hardtop roof. Oh, dude, this one's got the Hellcat engine. Isn't that cool? Like pushing all of these features on me, right? Now, in the chat, let me know. Do you guys think I bought from this guy? This guy that's like pushing all these cool features? Did I buy the Jeep from this guy? No, right? Of course not. He was selling me a bunch of stuff I didn't care about. So before I called it a quits, there was another Jeep, literally very, very similar, right across the street. Same, roughly same mileage, roughly same price. The difference is when I walked on this lot, the guy asked me what type of Jeep I'm looking for. And then the next question he asked is, well, what are you going to be using it for? And so I started telling him, I was like, yeah, I want to go camping. I want to go off-roading. He's like, oh, where are you going to go camping though? Oh, I'm going out to Yosemite. I'm going out to this. I'm going out to that. Right. So I started telling him about the things that I was doing with the Jeep. And then he started getting me excited about that. He's like, really, man, you're going out there? What else are you going to do? And as I'm driving, I'm talking to him. I'm starting to get excited, right? I'm starting to feel what it would be like to be this Jeep owner, what it would be like to be able to go camping with my friends. Now, instead of this guy pushing me random features, what this guy did is he's like, oh, yeah, by the way, this one's got the roof rack on it already. You can throw a tent on here. I found one on Amazon for you. It will be here by Friday so you can go camping, right? Started getting me excited about the future. He started, oh, look, this one's got the plates underneath it so you can go on the Rubicon Trail right out of the box. Now, when I started feeling the excitement about owning this Jeep, do you guys think I bought this? Yes or no? Let me know in the chat. You guys think I bought it? Yes or no? There you go. Right? Yes. That was me, all proud of my brand new Jeep that I just bought that I did not need and I definitely got sold on. But the shit works, right? The guy just knew how to get someone into future pacing. So if you guys are following along, that's right. Artistes, people buy on emotion. That's 100% true. And so we need to get the seller to feel that future state. We need to get them to feel that future state. So let me show you guys what I mean by that. The first question, if you guys are following along in the script inside of solution awareness, sounds like this. So, like, walk me through. Let's say you are able to sell the home. You're finally sitting in that dream home. Like, you're in the living room. I mean, what are you looking forward to the most about that next chapter of your life? What are you looking forward to the most about that next chapter of your life? Now, someone let me know in the chat. Why would I ask that question? I would say, what are you looking forward to the most about that next chapter of your life? Why would I ask it like that? Why wouldn't I just say, well, what are you looking forward to? Right? I would say, what are you looking forward to the most about that next chapter of their life? It paints a picture and it gets them to talk about what's most important to them. Right? And then I'll even ask a follow-up question. So I'll say, what are you looking forward to the most? They're going to say, oh, well, I'll give you the scenario of the lady that we were working with. She said, oh, well, it's just being able to sit in the living room of my new home and finally have dinners with my family again. Gosh, how's that going to feel once you finally have your family reunited and you guys are eating dinner together every night? Oh my gosh, it's going to feel amazing. Well, look, my goal at the end of the day is to help you do that. That's my only goal. Do you guys see how we're getting them out of price-based thinking and into result-based thinking? They're feeling their pain and then they're getting into that future state. Type in Y. There's 73 of you guys on right now. I've only seen a couple of you guys interacting. Type in Y if you guys are getting all this so far. Let's see. We're going to keep going when I get a bunch of people engaged again because we got 30 minutes left. We got about 20 minutes left. We got 20 minutes left. And the most important part, I taught you guys how to get the problems, how to get the solutions, but you guys are like, John, how do I close these people? How do I get the price out of them? Right? You guys are all waiting for that. That's what we're about to get into. But I want to make sure everybody's engaged. So type in a Y in the chat if you guys are getting all this so far. If you guys feel like you understand what we've talked about so far, this will help you so far. All right, awesome. So what I'm going to show you guys next is the one thing that I changed that has got my average deal size from 32,000 all the way to $50,000, $50,200. All right. This is one change. And so focusing on their needs takes them away from their asking price, the price they have in their head, and it focuses on solving the problem. All right. So let me ask you guys this question. Be real with me in the chat. I used to do it. I was taught this by all of the other sales trainers. How many of you guys are asking how much are you looking to get for the property? It's okay. Type in Y in the chat. If you guys are asking right now, how much are you looking to get for the property? Or like something like, what's that magic number? All right. So a lot of you. Yeah, I was too. Right. It's okay. And a lot of other sales trainers are teaching that. The problem with that is when you guys ask that, all of you guys that are asking that, where does the seller's brain go when you ask them how much are you looking to get for the property or how much are you hoping to get for the property? Where does their brain go to come up with that number? Price-based thinking? Like specifically, like if you're a seller, right? Where do they go to find that number? Because you guys are right, it's price-based thinking as much as possible. They think about the highest number possible. But where do they actually go to find that number? And if you guys aren't normally the type of people to like participate and put yourself out there, I want you guys to start doing that right now. There we go. Bunch of people. So Zillow, county records, friends' opinions, realtors, recent sales, logic, right? Now, let me ask you this. Can we buy properties? Like, does anybody here buy properties at the Zillow price and make money? No, right? Not anymore. It's not 2022 anymore. So you can't do that, right? You guys are typically under the Zillow price. So why would you ask the seller that? Why would you ask the seller? So how much are you looking to get for the property if you know they're going to compare it to the Zillow price? They're going to compare it to, what their neighbor sold for. Does that help you close the deal? No. All right. So what I'm going to show you guys, and you guys can write this down or you can follow along in the script. This is called needs, anchor, consequence. Okay. So instead of getting them to focus on the Zillow price, this is what I'm going to do. You guys notice as I'm coming out of future pacing, I'm saying, so what are you looking forward to the most about that next chapter of your life? Oh my gosh, just being able to finally be back with my family and have us all in one spot. Yeah, how's that going to feel once you're finally reunited with them and then you're eating dinner every single night? Oh my God, it's going to feel amazing, just so liberating and warming being back with them. Well, look, my goal at the end of the day is to help you get there. So walk me through how much would you need in your pocket after all is said and done so that way you could put the down payment on the next house and be there in the next 30 days. All right, so think about what I just did there. How much do you need in your pocket so that way you can, and then I'm going to repeat back what they're trying to accomplish and no longer have to deal with ABC problem, right? So if the seller says, well, I'm in foreclosure and, I don't have any money to pay my mortgage. The house is the bank's taking the house in 30 days. But if I move in with my brother, I could try to find another job in the next 12 months. I might ask something like this. So how much do you need in your pocket to actually pay off the mortgage and then have enough to hold you over for the next 12 months so that way you don't have to worry about losing all the equity in your home? You guys notice how I'm focusing on needs, right? How much do they need to solve the problem? Do you guys see how when you talk about needs, type in Y in the chat. If you guys see, when you talk about the needs of the seller, their brain focuses on solving the problem, not getting the highest price, right? You guys are getting that? And so I'm not going to stop there. I'm going to anchor on that. So let's say I ask the seller, so how much do you need in your pocket to put down in the next house so that way you can be back with your kids? She's like, oh, well, I'm, I think I need at least $50,000. Okay, and just so I know, where does that number come from? Well, it's a $200,000 house and I wanted to put down 25%, right? And look, my goal at the end of the day is to get you as much money as possible for the home. But let's say all the offers end up coming slightly lower than that. Like after the mortgage, you end up walking away with I don't know, 25 to $30,000 in your pocket. I mean, would that still be enough for you to be able to put down on the next house so you don't have to continue to deal with XYZ problem? Would that still be enough so you could put down the next house so you don't have to continue to worry about the mold? So I got their needs and then I anchor on those needs, right? I hit an anchor from there. You guys seeing how I do that? I got the needs, I anchor on the needs. And if they say no to that anchor, I am now going to ask them a consequence question. They're like, no, I wouldn't sell the house for that. I would just stay here. Right. A lot of you guys are probably wondering, like, well, John, what do you say if they say no? Or if they say no to the anchor? I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to ask you a consequence question. I'm going to say something along the lines of, yeah, and staying here is definitely an option on the table. I guess if you consider what would happen if you did stay here, the mold continued to impact your lungs, and God forbid your health got even worse. Oh my gosh, well, I don't even want to think about that. Do you want to put yourself in that position if you didn't have to? Well, no, I definitely don't. Okay, so the 30,000, like, do you feel like that could put you in a better position so that way you don't have to put yourself in that position? Well, yeah, I think it could. Okay, that's my needs, anchor, consequence. I know we're almost done here, and I know we've taught you guys a lot. I told you guys got to write stuff down. A lot of you guys are following. Who here, type in script if you guys are following along in the script. Type in the word script inside the chat if you guys are following along with the script right now. Okay, a bunch of you guys are following along the script. Who here is writing it down? Most of you guys are following along in the script. Who here is writing it down? Type in pen. Oh, some of you guys are doing both. All right, cool. So you guys are all getting this, writing it. All right, sweet. You guys are retaining this stuff. I know we're covering a lot, right? And so what I'm going to go through next, once I've gone through my needs, anchor, consequence, I've got those bottom dollar needs, is how do we lock up the deal before we ever present the offer? So type in Y in the chat if you guys have dealt with this. How many of you guys have felt like you had a deal just locked up in the bag, right? You felt like you had a deal in the bag, but then you send out the purchase agreement and they don't sign. So not until the deal is closed. Somebody said why with like 4 Ys. Yeah. All right. So you guys have dealt with this, right? And so what happens is when you don't get commitment before you give the price, the seller does this. They get the offer, say, okay, it's $500,000. I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna put that in my back pocket, and I'm gonna go shop it to everybody else in town. Right? Who has had that happen to them? Type in Y in the chat if you guys have had that happen to you. Where you give the seller an offer, think they're gonna sign it, and then they go shop it to somebody else. All right, you guys want to learn how to prevent that from happening anymore? It's by asking commitment questions. Cool. So I want you guys to write this down. The deal, if you do your commitment questions right, the deal is closed before you ever give the offer. The seller should be selling themselves to you, and you let them know if you can help them, not the other way around. The seller should be selling themselves to you. You let them know if you can help them, not the other way around. And I'm going to show you guys an example of that. So what we do is we go through all of our deal killers, and I skip through the deal killers because a lot of you guys are following along in the script. You guys have seen those like deal killers and then the objection prevention. But once we go through that, right, we find out their time frame. We find out what they need help with, like maybe they need help with moving. We find out all of these things, right? My closing question sounds like this. So let's say that, we did get you the $25,000 that you need to put down on the next house. We do it in the next 30 days, so you don't have to worry about losing the deposit. And we also help you with your stuff. If we're able to do all of that for you, what would be your biggest concern at that point? If we're able to do all of that for you, what would be your biggest concern at that point? Now, somebody let me know in the chat. Why would I ask that question? Why would I ask them what would be their biggest concern if we did all of that for them? Let's see who's following along. I know a lot of you guys are. Did I stump you guys with that one? Why would I ask the question? Aha, Craig. And then Dylan. Okay, you guys got it. I knew you guys were smart. So I asked that question to bring up any last minute objections, right? I want to see if there's anything that's going to prevent them from signing that agreement if I solve all of those problems. Because I found out their problems, I found out the solution that they're trying to get to, I found out how much they need to get to that solution, and then I found out all the logistical like time frame stuff, right? Once I do that, I ask, let's say I'm able to help you with XYZ so you can finally get to ABC result, no longer have to deal with 1, 2, 3 problem, right? If I'm able to do all of that, what's your biggest concern at that point? Now, if we did our sales process right, the seller says, well, nothing. I wouldn't have any concerns at that point. Nothing. We covered everything for you. Yeah, you covered everything. Okay, well, what would you want the next steps to be? Why would I ask that question? So if we're able to do all of that for you, what would you want the next steps to be? Why would I ask that question? Why wouldn't I just tell them what the next steps are? There we go. Gustavo. You nailed it. I want it to be their idea, right? And so if I'm not doing this, if it's not their idea, they're going to go shop it. They're going to tell you, like, well, I need to think about it, right? How many of you guys are getting think about it at the end? I get their commitment. So they say, well, I guess just send over the agreement. And so what I do from there is I say, well, look, if that's what you want to do, it's not my idea, it's their idea. Well, if that's what you want to do, here's what I can do is I can type up an agreement outlining everything that we just discussed, the 25,000 in your pocket after the mortgage, the 30 days, so that way you don't lose the deposit on the next house, and of course, being able to help you with your stuff. Once we do all of that, then I'll read through the agreement with you. We'll walk through it together. We'll get it authorized. And then I'll walk you through the next steps as far as opening up escrow. Would that help you if we did that for you? Would that help you if we did that for you? So you guys can see inside of the script, you guys can see exactly how we close it. How many of you guys feel like you can lock up more deals if you just do that one thing at the end? If you just get that commitment prior. Type in Y in the chat. If you guys feel like you'll lock up more deals just getting that commitment prior. Yes? Yes? Awesome. All right. So that's our entire sales process. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into a live Q&A. You guys are able to ask questions. Now, before we do, I know there's a bunch of people on here. A lot of you guys just joined the school community. You're going to be role playing there. But how many of you guys feel like you maybe just need a little bit more help with this? Like, hey, I learned a lot. I wrote a bunch of stuff down. I was engaged. Hopefully, you guys wrote a bunch of stuff down, right? But how many of you guys are like, I feel like I need to role play this more. I feel like I need help with other people. Linda said yes, so I want to role play. Somebody said need more. Or how many of you guys like have a team and you're like, yeah, this all sounds good, but how do I like pass this off to my team? Pablo, you got a team. Gusto, I don't know how to say your name, brother. Gusto, you have a team as well. So would it help if I walked you guys through kind of what we do for people that have teams? So a bunch of you guys have teams. Like, you want to be able to, or some of you guys have partners. You want to be able to teach this stuff to them. Just let me know in the chat if you guys would help, if it would help if I showed you guys how we do that. Pablo, George, yes, Pablo. Okay, cool. So what I can do for you guys, we've got 70 people on the call right now. I'm going to open up my calendar for one-on-ones. There is a little bit of an application, but I'm going to open up my calendar for one-on-ones with about 15 of you guys. I can't take all 69 of you guys, 70 of you guys. I'm sorry. But I can take about 10 to 15. You guys will see slots on my calendar. You guys will see there's really not that many. And so what we'll do is if you guys want help implementing this into your business, whether it's just you or whether it's a team, like you're doing deals already, right? You're already consistently doing deals. Maybe you're trying to do the 4 pillars. You want to learn this NEPQ process. Zach's going to drop a link inside of the chat. What we're going to do first is I'm going to look at all of your KPIs. If you don't have KPIs, I'll help you figure those out. We'll look at your script. We'll look at your process. We'll figure out what are you doing right now and what should you be doing so that way you can start getting more consistent results, bigger deal spreads, and more profit. Okay. If this is you, if you're dealing with like inconsistency in your business right now, like maybe you have a big month and then you have a low month and then you have a big month and then you have a low month. We're going to walk through how to actually solve that. We'll put together a plan on how to fix that so that way you can have consistent peace inside of your business because nothing's more stressful than that roller coaster. If you are going through your CRM and you know that there are deals that you could have locked up, you see deals going to your competitors. You're like, hey, I had this deal. They ended up going to another wholesaler, or worse, they're going to another wholesaler for a lower price. So that's you definitely need to hop on. But even if they're just going to realtors, like you're just losing deals to other realtors, you're losing deals to other wholesalers, this is going to be for you. It's going to be for those people that, or maybe there's some guys that we have guys inside of our advanced group. They're already really good, but they don't want to settle for being good. They want to be the best, right? They want to be one of the top closers. That was my thing. It was like I wanted to be the best. That's why I reached out to Jeremy and Matt, and I wanted to work directly with them, is because I wanted to be the best inside of the industry. For me, it kills me. It killed me when I was losing deals. When I was losing deals to competitors. And because of that, I was starting to have those up and down months. It was killing me. And so for me, that's why I ended up doing this. So I will open up my calendar. I'll show you guys. I love that. Somebody just said, Linda said, I want to be in that 1%. So Linda, you can go ahead and book a call. I just dropped the link inside of the chat. It's going to be a one-on-one. There's about 15 spots available. Zach, are there still 15 spots? How many spots are available right now, Zach?
We've got close to 10 right now.
Okay, so there's 10 spots left for you guys. I'll show you guys like some of the results from people that have been in our advanced group. So some of you guys might know these people. Jamari came to us, he was doing $300,000 a year. He was right about that 25K a month, right? Within 6 months, he was on track to hit seven figures. I think he actually broke seven figures at a 78% profit margin. This guy had a goal at the end of the year to put $800,000 in his bank account, and he hit it. Now he's doing like some development stuff and a bunch of flips and other stuff as well. But this guy went from 300 to seven figures. Okay. Adam, a lot of you guys know Adam Whitney, the guy that owns Seven Figure Flipping. We trained his team. Adam went from sub $1 million a year to on track to break $2 million this year with 50% profit margins, running an entire team. All right. We trained his team to be able to do that. And then Watson. Watson, not everybody's doing like these big numbers. Watson was like barely closing one deal a month. He was kind of like inconsistently closing a deal. He went from closing one deal per month to now consistently closing 2 to 3 deals. And what I love about this is if you guys read this text, shout out to Watson. He just hopped on the coaching call in the middle of an appointment, went in and used the objection handler that I taught him on the call, and then he closed the deal right there. And so just one freaking, literally like one call, hopped on, learned an objection handler, closed another deal. I think he made like $37,000 on that deal. And then we trained some big teams too. So this guy just sent me an email. He's doing about $600,000 a month. He's in like the New York, New Jersey area. Process is working, just starting to see the results. And we appreciate you, brother. He loves the podcast style training. So inside of our group, you'll be around other people that are doing 200K a month, 300K a month, all the way up to 600K a month. Most people start at about that, 1, 2 deals a month, and then they end up scaling their business much further. So again, our average results, this is a poll from people that have joined our community, from people that have joined our advanced group. This is the average. So if they were closing, 1 out of 50 leads, they went to 1 out of 25. They're closing 1 out of 20, they went to 1 out of 10. Their close rate increased 2.16x. Their average revenue increased 184%. And then our average student, when they leave our community, is doing $83,389. That's just data. I'm a big Hormozy fan. I went to his event, and then he's like, you got to take a poll of all of your clients, see what their actual results are. Those are average results, doubling their close rate, doubling their revenue, leaving doing about $83,000 a month. But we have bigger guys too. So if you guys have a team, you want help training your team, you can use that link, book a call. Zach, do we have any spots left, bro?
We have like 4.
4 left. Okay, so 4 left for you guys. I know if you guys look at my calendar, yeah, you're probably gonna have to book for like late next week because if there's only 4 left, I imagine all the spots for tomorrow and Monday are probably pretty much booked up. But you guys, we can talk next week. We'll send you a reminder as well. Okay, so last chance for you guys to go book a call. If you guys aren't quite there yet, the school community is enough to get started. If you're not like training a team, you're not like quite doing deals yet consistently. We've got the school community, and so that free trial is going to be on for the remainder of the Q&A. Zach will drop that link. We're gonna have the free trial on for about the next 10, 15 minutes, however long the Q&A talk, the Q&A lasts, on cruise for 14 days. Well, that's cool, bro. But you can be able to go and do that. So awesome. Let's jump into Q&A. You guys can ask any questions you want about the program, about what's inside of the program. You can ask questions about our sales process. If you're not typically the type of person to ask questions, this is your shot. Carol, can you send a recording? Yes, the recording will go out. So inside of I'll show you guys where you guys can see some of this stuff. So inside of our school community, let me show you guys where you guys can find the recording here. So a lot of you guys were asking about the replay. Let me show you guys where to find that. So go to the classroom, go to NEPQ 101. There's going to be a course on the connection phase, situation phase. While you follow along with the script, you can have all of that. We have an objection handling full mirror board. So this is really cool. We didn't get to go in objection handling today, but we have a process on how to overcome every single objection. Like if the seller says this, then you say this. If the seller says this, then you say this. So you can follow along there. We also have an objection handling masterclass. And so if you want to look for this masterclass, for whoever asked that question, go to the masterclass replay right here. This is the masterclass replay. You can find that. If you guys want an objection handling masterclass, you're like, hey, I need to learn how to overcome a price objection, how to overcome a think about it objection. The objection handling masterclass is right here as well. And then we've got some other stuff. We've got like a marketing masterclass, like how to run your own YouTube leads, a masterclass on how to book appointments, all of that stuff as well for like your team. So to answer your question, that's how you find the call recording. Kevin, with the team, what's a realistic margin for your business? So, Kevin, I'm gonna have you come off mute. Let me find you really quick. And I'm gonna talk to you about your team because that really depends on a couple of different things. Kevin, are you there? Let me know if you can
I
hear
am,
me.
sir. How are you?
I'm good, brother. How you doing?
Good.
So, what does your team look like right now?
Myself and my kids, 21 and 22. We're just now entering the wholesale space.
Okay.
Currently, we're doing build to rent product and building out a 100 unit portfolio for ourselves. And we're
Nice.
looking at open up a wholesale business to
Stack it, huh?
just have cash flow.
Yeah.
Uh,
What's
my,
your
my
Yeah, what's the goal, like the actual revenue goal per year with the wholesaling business, so I can help you understand what your margin should be?
500,000 minimum.
500,000 a month?
Now, just minimum. I mean, that's our first target within the
Oh,
first 90 days
500,000
is
a year.
500,000. Yeah. And
Yeah,
then
so
scale up from there. But if I get an acquisitions manager, dispo manager, we're outsourcing our TC.
yep,
What's a realistic with a small setup like that with and PPL leads, maybe on another marketing channel to use
yep.
cold collar to get people to raise their hand? What's a realistic margin for this business overall?
So about
Start
20%.
to scale a small team.
Yeah. So you'll typically get about a 5x ROAS depending on your market. Some markets like the SoCal market, New York, like they're bigger deal spreads, but your ROAS ends up being just slightly less. Some markets, like the smaller markets, you
Yeah,
might
we'll
get like a
focus on the
10x.
Midwest.
Okay, so you're closer to like a 10x, like a 7 to 10x ROAS. Um, I would say to be conservative, 20% of your margin is going to go to your marketing cost, right? You should be able to like that would leave you with 80% left. Now you're talking about hiring a team, typically 10% to the acquisitions with you like honestly, you can do 500K a year without any team pretty easily.
Right.
If you want to get some of your time back, 10% typically goes to acquisition, 7.5% goes to dispo. So there goes like 40% of your margin, and then maybe another 10% for office expenses. So 50% profit margins at like a low scale like that. When you start going to like that $1 million a year mark, for example, like my business, when I was just getting it started, my first couple like 6 months, we were able to profit 100K a month, and it was about 80% profit margins. As I started scaling, you start hiring people, you start putting acquisitions, dispo in place, all fixed expenses, CRM and stuff like that. Typically about that 50 to 40% mark. As like when once you start scaling, 40% ends up being like the target. And so have you done any deals yet with your current team?
No, I was in the space. I've owned mortgage companies across the country, but I was in the
Yeah.
space at 11, 12, and 13 when wholesaling just really came on with bandit signs and direct mail going to the
Yeah.
county courthouse and old school.
Yeah. Yeah. Old school one. I would book
Ben
have you
did
booked a
well at it.
call? Yeah. Have you booked a call yet?
No, sir.
Since you have the business acumen, I would recommend booking a call with me and let's look at kind of what your actual goal is with it. So if you have your two sons working it, like which one's going to do acquisitions, which one's going to do dispo, and we can put a plan to where you can hit that 500K pretty quickly. So that's what I would recommend. It'll be easy to talk to you if you have the business acumen, we can start looking at the KPIs that you need to have in place. That's one of the big things we do for companies that come in that want to like scale a company. Make sure that all your KPIs are dialed in, marketing's dialed in, and then we can look at profit margins from there to set something more realistic. Cool.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate it. I'll get on and book it.
Yep. Good question, bro. I love that question. Profit margin questions. All right. Jordan, for people whose motivation is price and open offer, do you pitch innovation? And if so, Jordan, I'll pull you off mute just so I can dive into that because I want to see what you mean by people's motivation is price. Jordan, can you hear me? Can you come off mute?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, let me see if I can get you on the camera. Nah, whatever. We'll do it without camera. So when you
Okay.
say the motivation is just price, how do you mean?
So I had a seller that I called recently, and I'm kind of new to the real estate game. I've actually
Okay.
wholesaled 2 years ago, very lucky deal, and I never really cold called extremely. So, but getting into it, I talked to the seller. He's open to an offer, but it seems like he's just worried about price. He wants top dollar. I've learned about
Yeah.
innovation somewhat, but I don't know if that's a key indicator to, hey, I can pitch innovation right there.
Well, the first thing is like everybody wants a good price for the house, right? There's no seller that doesn't want a good price for the house. So if he's like, oh, I'm just concerned about price, yeah, but what did we do to trigger that to get him into just price-based thinking? So what is the actual situation with the seller? Like, is it a rental? Does he own the home? What's going on with it?
So he does own the home. He's a contractor and he owns other properties, and the property is almost paid off.
Okay.
I did pitch. I brought up novation and I brought up seller finance as options.
It's
And
a
this is a
rental
cold
property,
call. No, but he's thinking about renting it out.
but he lives there now.
He does.
Yeah. So my main focus is like getting him, well, if he sells it, where's he going next? Why is he going there? How does that compare to where he's at now? What is he looking forward to the most? I want to get him into result-based thinking first, even before I pitch the innovation. Because even if you pitch innovation, it might work on the price. But if he doesn't feel the need to change, he doesn't feel that motivation of like, hey, I do want to make sure that I sell this house, he's not going to commit to anything. You're going to have a commitment issue at the end. And so that would be the first thing that I would want to focus on. And then what I would do is I would drop the cash price first to anchor him with that cash, and then I would go through the novation. Did you look at the novation script inside the school community?
Very briefly.
Yeah. So go look at that. When you frame a novation, it should be all helping the seller. It's like helping them get what they want. So you start with the cash. Okay, well, that doesn't work. What did you really need? I needed XYZ. Let's say I was able to get you that. Would you be completely opposed to giving us another 30 days on closing? No, I'm not opposed to that. Would you be opposed to access? No, I'm not opposed to that. You're just going through the line pitching innovation. So to answer your question, yeah, like I'm going to pitch innovation after I pitch my cash price, but the root cause of that problem is getting them into price-based thinking versus getting them into result-based thinking. You know what I mean by that? Are you
Yeah.
following? So
So
that
you're
would be what
saying
I would.
kind of
Sorry, go ahead.
scoping out. No, sorry. You're saying kind of scoping out what he would do after
Yeah. Yeah. If you
outside of
just
price.
have you joined the school community yet? I know you said you're like relatively new.
I just did the trial.
Yeah. What I would do is inside the community, let me share my screen, post the call. So right here we have a section called call reviews, and you can post your call. There's 235 people in here that are also trained in NEPQ, and you can see people in the comments will help you with with whatever you need help with. I'll listen to it as well because without like fully understanding the NEPQ process first, it would be hard for me to tell you like, was this an actual motivated seller that you really could have dug
Yeah.
something else out, or was this guy just focused on price and you should just move on because he didn't really want to sell? I need to hear the call first to be able to do that. So inside of the school community, go post your call right here. And I want to have some of the guys inside the group listen to it. I'll take a listen too. And then if you show up on Wednesday, just remind me and I'll help you with that as well.
Will do, man. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Let's see. We had a couple people raise their hand. So if you guys, you can do one of two things. You can post the Q&A inside the Q&A, or if you want to just raise your hand, just pop your hand up. There's a little raise hand emoji, and you can ask questions that way. Okay, James, you asked, am I going to receive the NEPQ Book of Objections? That's in the community. So if you guys, there's actually, for you guys that want to get better at objection handling, I'll show you where that is. So the Book of Objections is right here, and you guys can go take a look at this. I won't share all of it, but you guys can see there's like a bunch of different objections here. What I would probably focus on first is I would go to NEPQ 101 and then look at this objection handling masterclass and then the objection handling Miro board. So this objection handling Miro board, if you guys can see this, it all breaks down every single objection, which there's two smoke screens, which are think about it and partner. So if you guys get a think about objection, that's a smoke screen, right? They're not, there's really a real objection behind that. And then all objections come to one of these three things: money, logistics, or fear. There's no objections that don't fall under one of those three things. And so we break down like money, like they want more money because they're talking to other companies. Maybe they just want more money because that's what they feel like it's worth. Or there's a legitimate logistics objection, and we teach you how to overcome each one of those. So to answer your question, there's two different things, James. There's the book of objections, which will show you like the script. And then there's the Miro board that will break down every single thing on how to actually overcome the objection. I could call if anyone needs one, cold caller. Anyone need a cold caller, hit me up. Okay, TN. If anyone needs a cold caller, they can hit them up. Steve Cooper, how do you handle when a family member calling for their parents? Do you stay with the family member or push to talk with the parent? Steve, I want to push to talk to the parent because what you're getting is you're getting a partner objection. Hey, I'm the one that's going to be making the decision on behalf of them. No, they're not. They're going to have to go talk to the parent anyway, or whoever that other family member is, right? And so if you look inside of our community, we have an exact objection handler on how to overcome a partner objection. Let me see if I can pull this up. I can't find it right now. It's somewhere inside the school community, but we have an entire objection handler for the partner objection. The main thing I'll give you guys like a little tip here is when you're getting a partner objection, hey, are you 100% committed to being able to solve this problem? Yes. And are they aware that you're trying to solve this problem? Yes. Well, my guess is they're probably going to have questions, right? Well, yeah, they're probably going to have questions. Would it help you if we booked a time with us and them? That way, when they do have questions, we're here to answer them and we don't have to waste any time going back and forth. Would that help you? That's how we get into booking another call with that actual family member. So I do want to make sure that they are the decision makers there. Texas built homes. I sell modular homes. One of the smoke screens is we need to sell my home. Does it make sense to wholesale their property? Bro, I'm gonna have you come off mute because I do not understand what you're asking right there. Texas built homes. Can you hear me? Can you come off mute?
Yes, sir.
Help me understand your question a little bit better, bro.
Well, a lot of the customers we get come in already own a home, and their objection is from buying is we need to sell our home that we're living in now. So sitting there listening to you, it seems
Yeah.
that maybe it's an option, an opportunity to maybe wholesale those homes, or take a shot at it anyways.
Yeah, I would absolutely do that. I would go through the selling process because how much do you typically make on a modular home sale?
4 to 7,000.
Yeah, you can make 30 to 50 on a wholesale.
Okay.
So I would try wholesaling. I would definitely, do you know how to do novations yet?
No,
Are you in the school community?
just signed up today.
Okay, I would learn novations because for you, the novations are they're probably gonna happen pretty often. just given
Okay.
that they are trying to buy another home. Typically, when they're trying to buy another home, like purchasing it, there's not going to be like just a ton of financial distress every single time. It's not like you're cold calling foreclosures or anything like that. So I would just make sure you have both of those tools in your toolbox, cash and novation. But
Okay.
yeah, I would, dude, you can make a lot of money. I mean, you can bring your average revenue per client from 7,000 to 37,000 pretty easily if you learn that.
That sounds awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. Let's see what else we got. In your call example, after your commitment questions, you didn't go into setting an appointment. Would setting an appointment be? Oh, gotcha. So it depends. If you are if you are doing a two-step close, and I know this is an anonymous question, so I'm going to answer this anonymously. If you're doing a two-step close, we teach you, like, for example, I have a training inside of here called booking an appointment. And that's a different process. So if I'm like some of you guys have teams, right? And a lot of the people we work with that are doing multi six figures a month, they have just a setter team and then a closer team. And so what you would do is you would go through connection, situation, problem awareness. Once you get into problem awareness, you find there's a motivation, then you book the appointment, then you take the appointment from there. What we went over today is an example of a one call close. So like going through the entire process, but everyone's process is a little bit different. That's why I recommend you guys book a call with me. If you're like, hey, I like the NEPQ process. I don't know how this is going to work for my team. That's why we have the more advanced training, right? So we have that more advanced training for you guys that you have a different process, right? Maybe some of you guys are doing cold calling. You're cold calling and then booking an appointment for a closer to call them after that. Maybe you have a three-step process where you're doing SMS and then a lead manager and then a closer. Every process is a little bit different. And so if you book a call with me, I can look at your process and I can help you tailor it so that way your team is getting the most out of it. Cool. So that's why we didn't cover like the book and appointment. I would try to go for the close right there, but there are two-step processes as well. Tennessee, bro, I don't know what your name is because I just see TN. I'm guessing that's Tennessee. I know you just typed a host and panelist. How do you book a call? I'm gonna drop this in the chat. Zach just booked it, dropped a link too. We're about to end up here. So if you guys, do we have any, Zach, do we have any spots left, bro?
We got 2 left.
Okay, well, there you go. You get one of the last ones, bro. So TN, whoever you are, the one that posted the host and panelists, how do we book a call? You just fill out that link. So if you click on that link, it'll ask you a few questions. Just take through you actually would qualify for our advanced program. If you don't, it might just direct you into school. But fill out that application and then you can go from there. I think that's it. I think that's all the questions. If you guys are nervous to ask a question, this might be your only shot to ask a seven-figure wholesaler live on a call. I would say do it now. Cool. So I think that's all the questions that we had for today. We are going, how do you handle influencers when you close a deal? Artistitis. Let me pull you off mute because I want to see what you mean by that. Yeah, help me understand what you mean by that. How do you handle influencers when you're trying to close a deal?
So I don't know if I got late on the call, but you handle the you know how the picture perfect, so they can
Yeah.
focus on their solutions and all that, and they were ready to close, I guess, right? With the questions you ask them, then what's the next step, and then I guess we start the paperwork or something they could ask. How about if later there is somebody that comes out and say, "Hey, did you think about this? Do you think about that?" Uh, Husband, son, anybody that would get involved in.
Like after the contract signed or before?
How do you do that? Do you handle that before or after the contract?
Yeah, so what we do is inside of did you follow along with the script today, bro?
So I think I got there late.
Oh, okay. Do you have the script now?
I just signed up for the 7-day
Trial.
7
Yeah,
day
go
trial.
look at the script. Inside the script in solution awareness,
Mm-hmm.
we asked the question. So is there anybody else that would want to know that you are selling this property so you could deal
Okay.
with XYZ problem? Yeah, my wife. Okay, and your wife, like, is she on title to the property or does she just want to know? And so we try to break it out into two categories. One is the person is on title, like they're directly influenced.
Mhm.
The second is going to be they're not influenced, and we can overcome that objection without getting them on the phone. If they are on title, what we're going to do is say, okay, does she actually support you in being able to solve this problem? Yeah, she does. All right, well, here's what I would recommend if you feel like it would help is we could set up another call with you and her. That way, all of her concerns are addressed as well. Would that help if we did that? So we're going to book that next call. If the person's not on title, there's a different objection handler. So if you go inside the school community, go look for the partner objection. And there's a mirror board that looks like this, and it will break you through how to actually overcome a partner objection. So two different ways that we end up doing it, but it depends if they're on title or they're not on title.
So if they are on title, you would
Book another call.
book another call and then not go through the whole presentation until they're both.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Pablo, I think Pablo is a sub 2 guy because I see how do I avoid sellers asking me why I'm asking all these questions? Why is this important when I go through the script? Pablo, let me pull you off mute. How long have you been using this process?
Oh man, probably like 3 weeks.
Okay. That's going to be common for the first 3 weeks because you haven't mastered the tonality. How many deals are you doing, like roughly a month?
Um, it's been pretty consistent. This first quarter we did 4 to 5, and
Okay.
this quarter we've done just 2.
Did you book a call already?
Yeah, I'm partners with Dylan. I think he did.
Oh, Dylan did? Okay. Because here's what I want to do with you, bro. If you're getting those sort of questions, if you're getting questions like, why are you asking me all these questions or why is that relevant?
Yeah.
That's all your tone. That's your tonality. That's the way you're asking the question. Think about it like this. Role play 2 different scenarios. All right. So can you be the seller for a second?
Yeah.
All right, Pablo, the house, do you live here? Is it a rental for you? What's going on with it?
No, it's a rental.
Okay. It's a rental for you. Got it. Awesome. And how much are the tenants paying?
Paying 900.
Okay, awesome. Got it. They're paying $900. And are the tenants good tenants?
Pretty good tenants.
Okay, so do you see how robotic I sound? Do you see how
Yeah.
that's going to trigger that response? Now watch this. So Pablo, the house, do you live there? Is it a rental for you? What's going on with it?
Yeah, it's a rental.
Okay, and are there tenants there like right now?
Yeah, they are
Gotcha. How much are the tenants paying, just so I know?
about 900.
900. Is that every single month on time, the exact time that they're supposed to be paying?
Sometimes.
Sometimes in what way? How often are they late? All right, we'll pause there. Do you see how the difference in how I ask the question is going to give me different responses?
Yeah.
And so it's going to be the way you ask the question that's going to get sellers to say, well, why are you asking all these questions? If you're saying like, okay, got it, you sound like a robot, you're going to continue to get those questions. You'll never be able to lock up deals at your full potential. If you can learn how to use your tonality, those verbal cues, we didn't even talk about verbal cues today. That's for like some of the more advanced students. We're going to talk about that. We'll talk about that on your call. But using those verbal cues is how you're actually able to get the best result out of it. Make sense?
Okay. Yeah, sure.
All
Thank you.
right. Let's see. Awesome, guys. Well, we have those 2 links. This is going to be your last chance to be able to book a call. I know we had 1 spot left, I think, because there were 2, and then whoever TN was just took 1. So if there's 1 more person on here, here's your last chance to book a call. And then everybody else, we're going to turn off the free trial for everybody besides Linda because I need to help Linda get in. So free trials right there inside of the link, and then the book a call is right there as well. I will see everybody who joined on Wednesday or throughout the week on the one-on-one. So everybody that's going to role play, make sure you guys go add the call to your calendar. If you're ready to role play this week, make sure you go inside the school community, go to the calendar, add the call, so that way you guys get the absolute most out of this. Cool. See everybody later. You guys have a good one. Bye, everybody.